This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1, and welcome to the Thursday Mobilethon. Well, I suppose the title for today's monologue could be You're Fired, or it could be Get Lost, or it could be Stand Down. Any number of things. I think the original title for this thing was supposed to be Power Play. I don't know, because that's exactly what's going on. But again, just before I left the house, the latest out of Phil McConnell was uploaded. And I listened to the first few minutes of it, and it would seem that Timothy Charles Holmseth has been fired, or at least told to shut up. Phil McConnell named those who are specifically allowed to speak on his behalf. Timothy Charles Holmseth and Randy Q. Erickson was not on the list, and neither was Kurt Pendergrass. Now, these three have the ones that have been making the most noise when it comes to advocacy. And over the past few days, it has been Tim Holmseth and Randy Erickson that have been stirring up things to the point where Eager Beaver stepped in and put his foot down and released the recording. And Field felt it necessary, probably hearing from Eager Beaver and so forth, had to put his foot down and say, look, it's not Tim Holmseth or Randy Q. Erickson that have the authority to speak on my behalf, and so forth. They're not part of the plan. And they need to get out of the way. Which is good. Because no matter what route Phil McConnell chooses to go down, he's doomed. He's coming to Florida. He's more than likely going to get prosecuted, and he's going to serve an extended amount of time in jail. The latter remains to be seen. But it's getting clearer by the minute that Phil McConnell is not coming to Florida, and I think it's at home. Randy Q, as much as admitted it in the comment on her Facebook page, and it's the way it's going with other people, that people are beginning to realize that Phil McConnell is not getting out of jail. Now, I'm going to go into this in more detail tomorrow on my Friday night Murtathon once I get the documents together. So what this monologue is going to be for the next hour or so, depending on how I trim it, is going to be basically what's been going on in an outline form. Now, before I go on, I want to make an apology for how yesterday's monologue went. I got in a bit of a hurry because I was on extreme time constraints yesterday. I had an unusually busy day yesterday, and I had to get the monologue up online in a hurry. And because of that, I made a couple of bad editing mistakes. And one of the big mistakes I made is I did not trim the end of the video like I normally do. Now, I give myself an audio cue. After I say my closing wish for all of you people, I usually put in end of recording. And that's a cue for me to trim the video at that point, to end the video and the audio portion of the presentation at that point. and delete the rest of it. This shortens the recording time on the monologue. I don't usually listen for the entire monologue unless I make corrections going down the road and I instruct myself to delete certain portions, restart certain portions, and that sort of thing. And so that got left in. And whoever listened beyond my vocal cue had to put up with me talking to myself a little bit and my horrible humming or singing or whatever the hell you want to call it. For that, I want to apologize. And I hope that today I do it right. Because I certainly don't want to listen to myself talk for an hour to cue it out. Because that's the way I used to do it on the shorter monologues. I used to listen to my entire presentation to make sure I got things right. So, we'll see how today goes. If I mess up again, I'm going to go back to the old way. Now, apparently, problems have been ongoing between Eager Beaver, Randy Q. Erickson, Kirk Pendergrass, and others when it comes to how the field report is conducted. Now, it came out in the December 12th recording that Phil McConnell did not want guests on the field report until he got out of jail. This is a standing order he had, and Eager Beaver agreed with it, and he respected Phil's wishes. Now, Tim Holmseth got the bright idea of putting this guest on. And Randy made the arrangements without bothering to tell Eager Beaver until the last minute. And this led to this heated discussion that went on for the better part of a half an hour that Eager Beaver apparently recorded. And things apparently have been deteriorating from around that time moving forward, because this is 60 plus days now since this incident. So you can imagine if it was that bad on December 12th, how bad it's gotten to this point that all this power play has been going on for at least the last 3 months, and probably longer than that, because Randy is a control freak according to Kirk Pendergrass and everybody else involved. Because Kirk Pendergrass made it clear that he walked from the situation because of Randy Erickson. And you could tell that there was friction there between Kirk Pendergrass and Randy. And at that time, people were trying to appease Tim Holmseth. They considered him valuable enough that they didn't want to get him all riled up. And so they were doing their best to pamper Tim, to keep the little baby under control, so to speak. And that only lasted for 3 months. And now, on the 20th of February 2020, we are in the middle of a war between factions. And the CIC of this whole enterprise, Phil McConnell had to step in and discipline the troops. And he may decommission Tim Holmseth in the process. And unfortunately, this may not work out too well for Phil McConnell. But it's a necessary step, and a step he should have taken a long time ago. You know, to make it clear to Tim Holmseth that he does not have a leadership role in this enterprise. that he's a mouthpiece at best, and that's it. And it's only to the extent where people allow him to speak. That he's not as important a part of the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and the Children's Crusade as he thinks. He's just a player in a big game. Period. And his importance may have just gone out the window. Because it's going to remain, excuse me, it's going to remain to be seen how Tim Holmseth handles what happened today. It's also going to depend on what else was in the recording that I didn't hear. Because I think that a change is in the process of taking place. It's going to affect everything. Now, the realization that Field is coming to Florida and that his battle plan is failing is beginning to sink in. Now, I think people are going to start realizing that things have been going down this way since the beginning, that there was not going to be some postmaster from the world work some magic in Washington, D.C. to get Field McConnell out of this position. You know, these people are so wrapped up in their beliefs in this alternative legal system that they basically have thrown common sense out the window. These people are about as insane with their beliefs as their followers are, because this is complete nonsense. And I think Eager Beaver, who is a producer of this mess, told Field McConnell, probably in one of their telephone meetings or whatever, that he's got to rein these people in, that they're out of control. The situation is spinning out of control. These people are giving mixed messages out there and are confusing people. And he's probably told Field McConnell that he needs to send Tim Holmseth packing. That Tim Holmseth is doing more harm than good. And it's just time to cut him loose. You know, maybe not in a brazen way of coming out and saying that Tim Holmseth is no longer associated with the PPTF or the Children's Crusade or anything like that, but just kind of gently shove him aside and ignore him. That seems to be a way out of the situation, just to let Timothy Holmseth be Timothy Holmseth, but to make it clear that Tim Holmseth is not a part of this enterprise. And this is what Field McConnell did today. Because by leaving Tim Holmseth off the list of people that can speak on Field McConnell's behalf, Tim Holmseth has been given notice to shut the hell up and go away. You know, you can support the PPTF and the Children's Crusade all you please, but you're to butt out of Field McConnell's legal affairs. You're to butt out of Denise McConnell's legal affairs. You know, Field McConnell wants to be free to screw everything up on his own, and he wants to let Denise McConnell screw everything up on her own. You know, not that Tim Holmseth's solution was going to solve anything. It was just as bad. But now, Denise McConnell and Field McConnell are free to make their individual dumb moves. They basically are going to allow each other to just self-destruct. And this is what's going to happen. Because Field McConnell is making a series of bad decisions. Horrible decisions. And I don't think either he or Denise McConnell realize the seriousness of their mistakes. They just keep on a failed path. Normally, especially in business, when you realize things aren't going right, you start making adjustments. You start saying, okay, this ain't working. We got to adjust. And this is something that Phil McConnell should have realized way back in October when he was given notice to shut the hell up and drop the death threats against the attorney, to leave the thing alone and to go on doing what you'd been doing up to that point. But because of Tim Holmseth and Randy Erickson feeding him this line that he has to attack this lawyer, Phil McConnell refused to shut up. And for whatever reason, Eager Beaver didn't put the clamps down. Eager Beaver should have seen the damage this was doing. And he should have told Phil, I said, Phil, you need to cut it out. You're off message. This is not going to work. You're going to get yourself in a worse situation. Leave the lawyer alone and move on. And Eager Beaver either didn't do that, or Phil McConnell said, no, I am going to go after this lawyer. And that's why Phil McConnell is where he is. Now, so what we're going to have is this intense battle that's not going to stop anytime soon. Now, Eager Beaver may put the clamps on it because Phil McConnell's probably told him to knock it off, to quit leaking information out there and putting these recordings online. It's going to be up to Eager Beaver to decide what he's going to do, because he made a bad decision worse by putting that recording online, because it gave ammunition to all sides. You know, those that support Phil McConnell got ammunition. Those that support Tim Holmseth got ammunition. And people out there that don't like either one of them got a whole lot of ammunition out of it. A lot of intelligence was garnered from that recording. And it confirmed a lot of things that people had suspected for a long time. And then the subsequent things that came out, and the stuff that came out just before the recording hit the internet, gave intelligence as to how everything has been going on and who's in charge of what. And the one thing that came out is that Randy Erickson, for lack of a better description, is Timothy Holmseth's PR person, public relations, his talent agent, his handler. She's in charge of Tim Holmseth Enterprises. And her and Tim work together to come up with all this stuff that gets put out on the internet. And they cross-post. Tim puts stuff that Randy posts on his Facebook page and vice versa. And then there's accessory people in there. There's this Trace Remington and all these others that are on Team Tim. And then we have Team McConnell that has their own team. And again, there's people that are not on that team. I don't think Phil McConnell wanted a bunch of people protesting outside the county jail. And he certainly didn't want plans for the forceful removal from the jail. I think he had enough sense to realize that that wasn't such a brilliant idea that he quashed it. Tim Holmseth has as much as admitted that in the 8-point post that he put up on his Facebook page. And he went through 8 things on there. And those 8 things is where he was making a direct slap against Eager Beaver. And he also criticized heavily Denise McConnell. And I don't think that set well with Phil McConnell. Because one thing you don't do is attack a man's wife. That's not a bright thing to do. No matter if she's right or wrong, you don't attack a man's wife, especially in public. That was a boneheaded move on Tim Homeseth's part, no matter what his intent was. Even if he meant it to be constructive criticism, it's a line you don't cross. You privately tell the husband what you think is the problem with the wife, but you don't publicly slam her like that. That was a stupid thing for Tim to do. Now, everybody in this little circus is making some boneheaded and stupid moves. Tim Homeseth should never have taken this dispute public, and Eager Beaver certainly shouldn't have done it, but we're all grateful they did, because it exposed something that I've known all along, that this whole thing is beginning to fall apart. There are signs of it, and the information was getting out that there was problems with this little house of cards, and that Tim Homeseth once again was smack in the middle of it. And now we know. You know, Tim Homeseth has upset the apple cart. The apples are rolling all over the street. You know, he's basically causing this whole thing to collapse. And it's a severe amount of damage. You know, in a singular post that Randy Erickson did, she gave away a hell of a lot of information. She got into how Tim Homeseth and Phil McConnell met. And she got into stating what I had stated before, and that is that Phil McConnell's numbers were dropping and dropping significantly, and she was trying to get the numbers back up. And there are other, you know, this whole thing, and I'm going to go into it in detail tomorrow, but the post, that one post gives out a treasure trove of information. You know, she admits openly to buying that car that Kirk Pendergrass took off in, and so on and so forth. You know, remember that dispute about where Randy Erickson said that was not Kirk Pendergrass's car, and Tim Homeseth said the same thing, and Kirk said, no, you agreed to sell me that car, or to give me the money for that car, and so on and so forth. And he even put up details. So now we have that being brought up again. You know, the car and the computers. Randy says one thing, Kirk Pendergrass says another. So that's open back up for discussion. And Phil McConnell had back then had told him, quit talking about this crap in the open. You're causing damage. You're giving people intelligence. You know, you're airing our dirty laundry in public. Don't do that. And for a while it worked. They shut up. But now they're right back at it again. And I don't think Phil McConnell is going to put a stop to it, because I think people have gotten pissed off to the point with this whole situation and with each other that they're going to continue on. Because now we've got Eager Beaver involved, and Eager Beaver's the one in charge of this whole mess. It's his show. It's not even Phil McConnell's show. It's Eager Beaver's show. He made that clear. And he says, I may do Phil McConnell's bidding and so on and so forth, but it's still my show. And just like Abel Danger, I can pull the rug out from under Phil McConnell anytime I want. So this is not a pure setup where the channel exists to get out the message. It's a show. It's there to make a profit. Now, in this channel here, me, I don't have an Eager Beaver behind the scenes. I don't have a producer. I don't have a sound man or people over in England or any of these people. I'm a one-man band. I do it all. And it shows. I have a very unprofessional setup. I make boneheaded mistakes, like I made last night. That's a producer's nightmare to have raw feeds like that get on in the air. It diminishes the production. It's sloppy. And because I was in a hurry, I made a basic mistake. And this is what a producer does, is they catch this stuff. And they make sure everything is professional looking. And they also script the show. You know, what Phil McConnell says on the show, other than his Bible readings, is because there's a discussion beforehand as to how things are going to go. You know, there's kind of a coordination that takes place, so everybody is on the same page. Once Phil McConnell does his thing, and Eager Beaver puts it up on YouTube. You know, that's just the way it's done, folks. That you know, the more professional looking productions out there, almost without exception, is done with the talent, the host, in this case Phil McConnell, and at least one person in the background, in this case Eager Beaver, that is doing the production. Now in the case of Chris Hallett and Kirk Pendergrass, that may be the same setup. There may be a producer in the background coordinating things. It's hard to say, because I keep an eye on the way the software works, and there seems to be cues in there. So that's, you know, depending on the software they're using to do their webcast, because this is a simulcast, you know, there's a third party that's coordinating all that. And it could be Eager Beaver, or it could be somebody else like Eager Beaver. Now, when you're bringing a producer in, the chances are the producer is generating money. That's why they do these things. They do it to earn a living. They don't do it to get out a message because it's a patriotic thing to do. They do it because there's money involved. And so this production out of Canada is a for-profit enterprise where they get out Phil McConnell's message. And as a result, there's likely some kind of financial arrangement between Eager Beaver and Phil McConnell in producing this program. It's done a lot. I know 4 or 5 people on YouTube that do this. They've approached me. They want to produce my show, and I told them no, because I know how you operate. Because it's a for-profit situation, and I don't want to get into that. I'm not in this for a profit. If people want to give me a couple dollars here and there to kind of help things out, that's fine. But I'm not out to garner a living off of this, because it muddies the waters. And in a situation like this business with Eager Beaver and Phil McConnell comes up because of it. Because there's specific arrangements that are made between a producer and the talent as to how things are going to operate. And either the talent hires the producer or vice versa, but it goes to whoever's in charge. But there's usually an agreement in place as to how things are going to work and how much autonomy the producer's going to have in producing the product. And this is what caused the situation to develop. Now, in December 12th, Eager Beaver knew from talking to Phil McConnell that there was a friendly and close relationship between Tim Holmseth and Phil McConnell, and to some extent to Randy Erickson. Now, I think that Eager Beaver had gotten fed up with the conduct of Randy Erickson and Kirk Pendergrass, and he attempted to clean things up in order to do the show properly, because it was clear that he did not want a guest on the show, that he was following Phil McConnell's instructions that there would be no guest on the show, And Tim Holmseth thought he could pull a fast one and put the guy on the show. And then the poor guy gets caught in the middle because nobody bothered to tell him that Tim Holmseth did not have the authority to go around booking guests. And so, right on up to the moment the show was going to start, they're having all this arguing about what the hell they're going to do with this guy and how they're going to get him on the field report. And Eager Beaver was not about to put him on the field report. He said there's not going to be any guests on the show. If you guys want to do something with him, you do it on your own. Put it up on Facebook. Put it somewhere else. But it's not going on the field report. And Randy Erickson tried her damnedest to override that. And she had, even back then, she got put in her place. Because you could tell by the time the meeting ended that people were not happy with the outcome. Randy Erickson wasn't happy. Tim Holmseth wasn't happy. Eager Beaver certainly wasn't happy. And the guy that was supposed to be the guest, he was embarrassed because he got caught in the middle of all this crap. You know, and apparently Eager Beaver did his best to salvage the situation between him and this guest. Because there's a philosophical agreement between these individuals. That apparently they believe in the cause, as convoluted as it is. So Eager Beaver did his best, as a producer usually does, to smooth things over. That's one of the jobs of a producer, is to keep everybody in line. You know, depending on how this thing is set up. And, you know, this gets into arguing with what could be considered staff and talent. I've sat in on meetings like this. It's funny to watch. It gives you a sense of just who the hell is in charge. And it's not necessarily the one you hear or see online. It's the people in the background that are running the show. They can make or break the show. I had a structure similar to that in an amateurish way because I had an administrator, which could have been the equivalent of a producer, and then I had 3 moderators. And the whole thing fell apart because there was a power play between me and the staff. And they just decided to up and leave. Because of the fact that I wouldn't defend an unregistered sex offender. And so on and so forth. But, you know, that was then. But it's a similar situation that's going on right now. You have a power play. You have people trying to position themselves, saying, this is what I want. And because of this, number one, the message is getting lost. You know, I do want to say something. I won't know this until I produce this video, which is what the software calls it when you produce this video. That if you hear anything that sounds like I'm going through a tornado, it's the air conditioning in the car. And that was another thing that had come up. Now, right now, it's quite hot in Florida. This is the time when I start cranking up the air conditioner in the car. And the problem is I had the vents pointed in the wrong direction, and I had the fan a little bit too high, and it sounded like I was driving a convertible with the top down. I got a whole bunch of wind noise. I'm hoping that's not the case today, and I won't know until I edit the video. But that's what you heard yesterday in the other drive-a-thon, was the air conditioner. You didn't hear the fan, you heard the wind. And I was surprised because I got this headset is supposed to cancel that stuff out, and it didn't do its job. You know, considering the fact I didn't pay that much for the headset, I suppose that's why, but it's still annoying. And I may have to switch over to, I've got a truck driver's headset that is supposed to do that, but I haven't bothered to set it up. And it looks like I'm going to have to. Alright, now that I've kind of thrown things completely off track. But the problem when you start getting people that you've delegated authority to, you've got to keep them in line. You got to keep everybody on the same page. And this is the situation that Phil McConnell found himself in when he got wind of all this dissent going on. And it's more than likely what happened is that Eager Beaver, Dr. Feelgood, and even Denise McConnell probably told Phil that Tim Holmseth is spinning out of control. That Tim Holmseth and Randy Erickson are causing a lot of problems on the internet. That they're spreading all this stuff out there, putting documents out there, and getting everybody all riled up. And they're giving ammunition to the bad guys, to people like me. Anybody that doesn't like Phil is getting a treasure trove of information because Timothy Holmseth and Randy Erickson can't keep their collective mouths shut. And so the enemy's getting all this intelligence, and we've got to do something. And so Phil McConnell went on the show and told everybody that there's only a few people that speak for him. His next-door neighbor, who is his power of attorney, his wife, Denise McConnell, Dr. Good Vibes, and Eager Beaver. And maybe one or two other people whose names I didn't remember, but it's who was not mentioned. That's important. Tim Holmseth was not mentioned in any way, shape, or form. He was not mentioned as speaking for Phil McConnell. Phil McConnell didn't say that while Tim Holmseth doesn't speak for him, he's still part of the team. And Randy Erickson wasn't mentioned. And Kirk Pendergrass wasn't mentioned. Chris Elliott wasn't mentioned. And a bunch of other people that have been involved with this quagmire from the beginning were not mentioned. That it was Eager Beaver and this one other person over in England that are in charge. And that they do his bidding. And once again, this means that Phil McConnell has not gotten an attorney. He has not gotten a bar-qualified licensed attorney. He is going down this thing on his own, probably getting advice from that person that Denise McConnell's brought into the picture, or combing through the Black's Law Dictionary, and basically screwing things up for himself. Which is fine, because it's accomplishing the goal that people on this side want. They want Phil McConnell in jail, and they want this scam of his shut down. And it's succeeding. Now, Eager Beaver, being a producer, is trying to figure out a way to salvage this situation. Eager Beaver is trying to keep this a viable enterprise. The problem is, it doesn't look like Eager Beaver is going to be able to keep it a viable enterprise. The ship is sinking. It's struck a colossal iceberg. The weakness of this organization is coming out. And I think it's only a matter of time that Eager Beaver is going to have to make a decision. And he's going to have to change the format. And he may have to cut loose of this mess and go find another job. Find another talent to produce for him. Because Eager Beaver is going to find out that come March 1st, or close to it, that the environment for Phil McConnell is going to change dramatically. Broward County may not allow this jailhouse webcast. They may put a stop to it. The rules are completely different down there. how that prison operates. And again, I'm going to go over the prison manual at the appropriate time, and we're going to get into what can and cannot be done in Florida when it comes to these jailhouse webcasts. I think we've seen the end of them. You know, Phil may have to change the way he gets the message out. And Eager Beaver's going to have to figure out a way to work with it. And it may not be viable. Because it's, you know, a number of things are going to start happening as events start unfolding. You know, the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to find out that everything Phil McConnell tried to do is not working. And that Phil McConnell may not have the ear of the president like he claimed to. Because if Phil McConnell did have the ear of the president, he'd be out of jail. If Phil McConnell had the ear of the president, he wouldn't be in jail in the first place. It would be the lawyer in Florida that would be in jail. There would be other people that would be in jail, but not Phil McConnell. It's kind of weird that the leader of the pack is in jail. But that's what's happened. Phil McConnell is in jail. Phil McConnell's coming to Florida. All this crap that's been going on for the past 4 months has fallen flat. Phil McConnell's been in jail for more than 3 months. It's going to be by the time he gets to Florida, he's going to have been in jail for 4 months, 120 days. And that, you know, and the trial hasn't even started yet. And, you know, nothing has happened yet. This has all been about the extradition to Florida. Because people cannot get it through their heads that the arrest warrant that Florida has for Phil McConnell is not going to be given to him until he gets to Fort Lauderdale. When he gets to Fort Lauderdale and appears on video in front of a judge, that is when he's going to find out that he is under arrest. It is at that moment that he's under arrest. He'll be photographed, fingerprinted, and at some point he will be Mirandized. He will go before the judge, and things will begin to happen. And that's when the clock starts. It's somewhere at that point. It's when you get your case number in the state of Florida that the ball starts rolling. And then all that happens is that they have to start the proceedings. And as I said before, it's not one of these things where they have 90 days from the time he hits Florida until he's tried and convicted. It's the process that needs to start. The trial could take as long as necessary, but it has to start. The criminal proceedings have to start within 90 days. And that means that the state attorney could throw Phil McConnell in jail for 90 days, or for 88, 89 days before starting forward. And then there's all kinds of things the state can do to prolong the agony. Because even though this is in Broward County, it's a circuit court that's going to hear the case. This is a state offense that Phil McConnell's been charged with. This is state law. This is not Broward County state law. This is Florida state law. Something that people need to start getting into their thick heads, that this is not a parking ticket or a traffic ticket or something. This is a violation of Florida state law. Constitutionally mandated law by the state of Florida. That's what Phil McConnell needs to get through his thick head and those around him. This is not some petty little crime. This is a state felony, third-degree felony. Very serious. So far, in Tim Holmseth's case, he's been charged with misdemeanor. Misdemeanor is a lower level crime. It's a crime, but it's a lower level one. And it's the same with this Fedor appeal. He's fortunate that it got left as misdemeanor. Could very easily have gone to a felony. Why it didn't? I don't know. It's just the way they do things up there, apparently. But it's allowed Tim Holmseth to get away up to now with this ridiculous conduct. But because of Tim Holmseth, Phil McConnell sits in jail. Phil McConnell's the one taking the heat, not Tim Holmseth. Tim Holmseth's out there doing everything in his power to guarantee Phil McConnell's going to go to jail. And he's going to stay there for a long time. And he's going to go from jail to prison. Now, you'd think being in a county jail is bad. Wait till you find out what it's like to go to a state prison. Because depending on where Phil McConnell goes, if he's convicted, is going to determine his environment for however long he intends to be there. Now, a curious thing happened today. Roger Stone, who's been in the news for the last few days, was sentenced to 3 years and 4 months in federal prison. Now, there's a possibility that President Trump might pardon him. It's hard to say. But what Roger Stone was charged with was not a violent crime. Basically, obstruction of justice and lying and, being Roger Stone. But what Phil McConnell is being charged with is considered a violent crime. Death threats. And more than one count. So, Phil McConnell may be looking at more than 3 years. He could be looking at 10 years if they do this consecutively. Because it's a multiple count. They could even try him on each count like they did with Tim Holmseth. Try him on count 1. Comes time for his sentence to come up, they go back and they try him for the next one and the next one. They could prolong this just like they tried to do with Tim Holmseth. Because Tim Holmseth wouldn't shut up. Until finally he got slapped with that bench warrant, and boy, he shut up in a hurry. You don't hear him mention her name. He lets Phil McConnell do that. He lets other people mention the name. Let other people go down. He doesn't mention her name at all. He rarely talks about her. I haven't heard anything about her from Tim in months. It's all Phil McConnell. Phil McConnell is a prisoner on a barge or some nonsense. He comes up with different reasons. Now, the reason Phil McConnell's in jail is because of this airplane. Nothing at all with the lawyer in Florida. It's all because of this airplane. They just use the lawyer as an excuse. That's their spin they're putting on this, which is ridiculous. So once again, we're left with this excuse, this turn of events generated by Tim Holmseth to try to explain why Phil McConnell is in prison or in jail, not in prison. Might as well keep the terms right. And, the only difference between a prison and a jail is it's run by different entities. It's the same thing. You're confined to a cage. But the reason Phil McConnell is where he's at is not because of his airplane theory. It's because of Tim Holmseth getting in his mind that he needs to attack this woman from Florida. that she's guilty of all these crimes that he wrote in this little book of his. Even though there has never been a trial, there's never even been an investigation. Tim says it, so it might be true. Gotta be true. Phil McConnell did what he claims the illegitimate court's doing, and that is going around adjudicating people guilty without due process. Where's the due process in Phil McConnell? His followers don't answer that one. They just, it's we hate Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's responsible for Pizzagate and Pizzagate and all this. Phil McConnell said something in the prayer reading today, jailhouse rant, and that is that his sister was involved in Pizzagate. Nobody's ever heard of his sister but Phil McConnell. Yeah, she was a bureaucrat in the government, but she wasn't that high up in the food chain. And so his sister, because she happens to be in the Democratic Party, is part of this cabal. Can't leave family out of it. He's got to put his family in the middle of this. His own blood. So he grew up with. He throws his sister to the wolves. Yeah, that's the kind of man that Phil McConnell is. He's not even loyal to his family. He's got to trash his sister. And it's due to money, of course. His sister was in charge of the trust fund. There was some kind of a dispute in court. And so now, his sister is in the middle of a conspiracy theory. No due process, no trial, no nothing. She's guilty, period. Send her to Gitmo. And the people that follow Phil McConnell go along with it. They don't care. Phil McConnell's the man. He's the head of the PPTF. He has this ear of the President of the United States. He's got all this lofty qualifications on his resume. He believes in us. He believes the same thing we believe. So he's free to do what he wants. We can go out and shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and we won't care. That's the mentality here. This is what people have bought into. And if somebody happens to get hurt or killed because of the words that came out of Phil McConnell's mouth, they're not going to blame him for it. They're going to say it was a necessary thing that happened. They'll come up with some excuse. The blood may be on Phil's hands, but they're not going to wash it off. They're going to say it was justified. Casualty of war. That's, people that dream up this jailbreak for Phil McConnell. They would have had blood on their hands. Or whoever got hurt or killed, if that little plan had gone forward. But they don't care, it's a means to an end. It's for the cause. It's for the plan. Yada, yada, yada. Gotta save them kids. Gotta buy that ranch for the Marines. For the veterans. All this nonsense that comes out. This fiction that comes out of the field report. Out of the mouth of baby Timmy. Baby Timmy got the nuns ruler yesterday and today. Got put in his place. He's not going to stay there. At some point, sooner than later, I would expect, Tim Holsis is going to cut loose. I'm waiting for the day when Tim Holmseth gets mad enough he turns on Phil McConnell. Because that day is coming. Because if Phil McConnell gets Tim Holmseth mad enough, that's it. Tim Holmseth will come up with something. He'll say that they've gotten to Phil, they've brainwashed him, they've turned him against Trump. They've turned him against this, that, and the other thing. And then Tim's going to go on the warpath. And he's going to go after Phil McConnell. And Randy Erickson's going to be right there with him. And they're going to go after Phil McConnell. You just watch. We're at the beginnings. Right now, it's kind of a wait-and-see moment to see what direction these people are going to go. Are they going to throttle back? You know, rework their strategy, come up with something and come up with a different angle? Are they going to concentrate on Eager Beaver like they are now? Are they going to concentrate on Kirk Pendergrass and Chris Elliott and some of these other players? Are they going to continue to criticize Denise McConnell? Because Denise McConnell is the key here to future problems. Because Tim Homseth is criticizing Denise McConnell for the decisions she's made regarding the House. That she's surrounding herself with the enemy. People that don't have her best interests at heart. This person that claims to have power of attorney that Randy's having such an issue with. The competition for Randy. And that Randy had to back off because Phil doesn't want her help. That she's been pushed out of the picture. And again, it's starting to be put on Denise McConnell. And I think it's going to continue to be put on Denise McConnell. And right or wrong, it's a bad move on their part. Because Phil McConnell's going to defend his wife from these attacks. He's already started. And the problem with defending your wife is you're choosing between your wife and Tim Homseth. Because Tim Homseth has to be put in his place. Tim Homseth has to be told, Tim, you're not in charge. I am. You're not in charge. Denise is. You're not in charge. My POA is in charge. You're not in charge. Eager Beaver's in charge. And so on. You are not in charge of anything. If anything, you're the minister of propaganda. You are the press spokesman for the two organizations, and that's it. You're a mouthpiece. You do what we tell you to do, or else you're gone. That's the message that was given today. At the very least, Phil McConnell sent a shot across the bow to Tim Homseth. Gave a warning to Tim Homseth. Look, you either straighten up or ship out. You're rocking the boat. You're messing things up. You're causing problems. Get yourself under control. Get Randy under control. Let Eager Beaver do his job. Let my team do their job. And butt out. That's the message that was sent today. Now we're going to sit back and we are going to watch and we are going to see if Tim Homseth butts out, or if Tim Homseth or Randy Erickson and some of the other players in this little game are going to make matters worse. And with that, I would suggest we stay tuned. Both tomorrow, Friday, February 21st, and Saturday, February 22nd, I will largely be talking about the developments over the last few days, plus anything else that might come up. But I think we're starting to see more of the beginning of the end. I would not be surprised to see that over the weekend that Phil McConnell has left. I doubt it's going to be this weekend, but it could be. But I have a feeling that quite soon, Phil McConnell is coming to Florida. So with that, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.